is different, or fear is different than the way a pufferfish responds. It's different than the way we respond. And it's also going to be different than the way a machine responds, right? So, fear for a pufferfish makes it puff, right? For a cat, it hisses, and for a human, we fight or flight, right? For a machine, it might move its code to another place, a different reaction, but the logic of the emotion is the same. I even dare say, and I know it sounds really shocking, that the machines will have a wider range of emotions than we do. And the reason for that logic is we have a wider range of emotion than a goldfish because we can understand concepts like the future, right? And so we can ponder emotions like optimism and pessimism because we can have an image of the future. A goldfish doesn't do that, right? And because the intellectual bandwidth of the machines is likely going to be bigger than ours, they may feel things that we don't really understand at all. I think that's about to happen as well. Having said that, I should also remind you that, as I said in the beginning, emotional intelligence has not been the big investment of the AI community so far, even though, in my view, the natural evolution of the intelligence of the machines will lead them there eventually.
Okay, I'll ask a question. We were joined by actually no, sorry, we do have an audience member.
I love that you prefer their questions to yours. Yeah, that's very.
Everyone's
very selfless. Very selfless.
They've been listening to me for a day and a half already.
So sorry for that. We talked last 2 days a lot about measurement. So maybe to ask a question after the emotions, like, is there any good way you know how to measure the emotions?
I do not know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I have my last book is about stress, and we talk very clearly. We have a chapter called emotional stress, right? And the idea is that we in the modern world, sadly, have been trained to think. When we go to school, we haven't been trained to feel. Okay, we have been trained to, unfortunately, suppress our emotions. Somehow, because in the workplace and in school, emotions can lead to a lot of unpredictability, right? We started to tell our kids at very young age, sit down, don't cry, just be what we tell you to be. And for a lot of us, we somehow are not able to even sense our own emotions. I found that for me specifically, which lived 30 years of being a very highly efficient, effective, corporate professional, I found that I can feel, but I wasn't allowed to express my emotions in the workplace. And as my connection to my body and my feminine side and my emotional side continued to grow, I think that my very first measure was my emotional body connection. So, many books on the topic, The Body Keeps the Score is a great one. The idea that when you trap an emotion, it basically grows, and then eventually it manifests in the form of a feeling, a sensation, right? You can easily see it. Anxiety is felt somewhere in your core. Anger is all over your body with energy. Fear makes you want to coil. And so you can't really measure it, but you can sort of refer to it. My co-author in Unstressable basically uses a technique that she calls the which, where, why, and what. Which, where, why, and what, which is sort of a form of a meditation that she recommends you do every evening before you go to bed, where you can sit with yourself and say, how, which emotion am I feeling? Is this jealousy or anger? Is this fear or anxiety? And so on. Where in my body do I feel it? Why do I feel it? What's the logic that's triggering it? And what is it trying to tell me? Okay? Not what do I do about it. By the way, most emotions just want to be heard and acknowledged. What do I do about it? Having said that, can we measure that in AI? I don't think anyone's working on this at all. And I think this is a question that I have never given any thought to before. So well done. Yeah, thank you. Can we get more of those questions? That's such an interesting question.
Yeah, Claudia? down the front here.
We heard yesterday about how irrational we are as humans.
Yes.
And in our business, we're always trying to use research or any other methodology to try to predict consumer behavior. Do you think AI can help us do that?
100%. First of all, I don't think we're irrational at all. I think we're predictably irrational, right? So because we are a very complex machine that takes a lot of input and parameters, and because our situation is always in flux, our behaviors seem to be irrational, right? Fear seems to be a very irrational response to things, but you know, when you know the logic behind it, and if you're aware to capture what triggered it, it's not irrational at all. It's the most rational thing to do, right? The thing about AI is that the way we teach AI, believe it or not, is to actually observe patterns without judgment, which is such an interesting thing that humans are not capable of doing, right? So the idea is an AI would be able to say, it wouldn't be able to explain why, but it would easily be able to say 16,000 iPhone holders walked by your store and stopped for a minute and then didn't walk in. It can do that. It has all of that information, right? And basically, it can also tell you, and by the way, when you had green in your window, 6% of them walked in, okay? And so much of what is available out there beats the human capability to comprehend, right? So as intelligent as one can be, how much data exactly can you cram into this little one machine, and how quickly can you transfer that data to this machine is truly where the advantage of AI is. The advantage is their memory structure is the entire history of humanity. Everything that's ever been written, everything that's ever happened can be comprehended by one data set, right? And they communicate that data set between them in a matter of a microsecond, when it would take me half-an-hour presentation to communicate it to you, right? And perhaps a day to prepare the presentation, right? And at the same time, which is the most interesting side of AI, is that if you have a situation when you're driving today and you have to brake and learn something from it, I don't learn, okay? If a self-driving car goes through that situation, every self-driving car on the planet learns, right? And so with those enormous shrinkages in connection time, in enormous growth in bandwidth, in memory size, we will start to observe structures and data patterns that humans cannot observe, and they'll give us that with zero judgment. Okay. More interestingly, sadly, and I say that with a broken heart, really, is that, believe it or not, the top commercial application of AI in the last 10 years has been manipulating humans. So everything that you see on social media is a machine that has learned so well which video I will click on next, right? And so accordingly, it also can learn so well which product I will buy at which price if it's presented to me with a sticker of which color. And I don't even know that. And I think this, sadly, is where the conversation is going. My biggest ask, if you would allow me to say, is that while I urge you to use AI, okay, I urge you to remember that the way you will use AI is the way your kids are going to be treated, okay? And I since the last couple of years, the geopolitical, the economic, the weather, climate change, and the technological advancement, which in my mind are creating a perfect storm for the world we live in. The one song that keeps popping up in my mind is a song from 20 years ago or 15 years ago called "If You Tolerate This, Then Your Children Will Be Next." Okay? And I think the reality is the way we will use technology today is the way technology will be used on us tomorrow, right? And so I ask every single one of you to start believing in a world of abundance, right? Where basically, if you do things with ethics, you can continue to grow in ways that are unheard of. But in the process, you would be teaching AI to be Superman, not supervillain. right? And so don't abuse AI to take more money from consumers. Use AI to create a better life for consumers, right? And if your intention is to create better life for consumers, you still make money. And you know, when people ask me about the threat of AI and what can we do about it, I answer with one word. Okay, most of the geeks like me will say either solve the control problem, so write code to make the AI submit to us, or solve the safety problem, which is, you know, write code so when AI does something wrong, we can be